So, welcome to episode 21 of the Free Your Mind podcast. Never know the numbers. Apparently, I had two of the same number at one point. So, that's that. Anyway, today I want to talk about limiting beliefs. Because it's a phrase I hear a lot. It's a question I get a lot. You know, how do we overcome limiting beliefs? And what are limiting beliefs? And amongst many other things. And again, you'll know my story, especially if you listen to the earlier podcasts. If you haven't, go back and listen to them. Some of the earlier ones are, really laid the foundations for these conversations. If you have, you'll know that when I first got into this, it was all about limiting beliefs, which is cool because it's the first time I started to realize that my thinking changed my emotions changed my actions changed my results. So if I wanted better results, I needed to take better actions or different actions, and therefore I needed to change my emotions or my thinking. So it made sense. It still does make sense. So then everything becoming about my thinking. Everything. What am I thinking? What shouldn't I be thinking? Positive thoughts, affirmations. Anytime I had a negative thought, I would have to I'd go and journal that. Is that true? Is it not? Where did that thought come from? Why am I thinking it? Is that useful? Is it not? And you might see some synergy in what I'm saying. You might be thinking, hang on a minute, don't you tell us to do that? But if we stick with this conversation, it will start to make more sense, right? But it was all about thinking. There's slight nuances. Annoyingly, the difference between transformation or enlightenment or consciousness or happiness or peacefulness, sometimes the devil is in the details. I don't know if that's the right phrase. I don't normally say that. That just comes to me. So maybe that's not the right one. I don't know. The angel is in the details. I don't know. What I'm trying to say, but not doing a very good job at currently, is there are little tiny subtleties, little tiny nuances that can change the game. Sometimes it can be one word, or it can be one little shift. Oh, I thought it meant that, but it actually means that. And it might be 1 degree apart. Like, I don't know what the exact stats are, but I think like if you fly from London to, let's say, LA, if your flight path is 1 degree out, you end up somewhere entirely different, like, let's say, New York or something. I don't know. You can Google it. Sometimes there's a 1 degree shift. It's a bit like, there are small margins in sport. If you play football, 1 inch to the right and you can be hitting the post. And that's not a goal. Same as driving as well if you're playing golf. 1 degree out and the ball's landing in a very different place. So to get back to my point, it was all about my thinking, or I was hyper-focused on my thinking. And I see a lot of people can be like this sometimes, hyper-focused, watching my thoughts, every single thought with such intensity. And every thought meant something. Oh, why am I feeling that? Why am I feeling this? Why have I thought that? Oh, I was thinking this and now I'm thinking that. And just so much buy-in to those thoughts. Like, as far as I was aware at the time, those thoughts were so incredibly powerful, so incredibly real, that I needed to disarm them. I needed to counteract them. I needed to reframe them to make sure that they no longer existed or that they didn't do any damage. It's like they were such raw potential that one wrong thought could feel like a disaster, like a problem, like, oh, fuck. And then I could be thinking about my thinking. Why am I thinking that? And now I'm thinking about my thinking, about the fact that I'm thinking, about the fact that I'm thinking that I'm thinking. You get the point. And it become a full-time job just to try and moderate these thoughts. Right, I'm thinking anxious thoughts. Right, okay, what does that mean? What about that? What does that mean? What if this? What if that? Oh, why am I thinking that? Oh, for fuck's sake. Oh, but now I'm thinking this. Oh, that's good. That's what I need to think. What should I think instead? What are the 10 magical beliefs that all successful people have that I need to have? Or, the affirmations. One person even had me stick Post-it notes around the house that said something like, I don't know what it said. It said something fucking stupid, honestly. It said something like, "You are enough," or something like that. Just all over the house. And every time I saw them, and I'm not saying they're wrong, I'm saying they're wrong for me. This is the point anyway. But every time I saw these Post-it notes, the only thoughts I had is these are fucking stupid. What a total colossal waste of time these are. And before long, I stopped even noticing they were there. I forgot that you just open the cupboard and there's just so happens to be a Post-it note. You just normalize it. You stop reading it. You stop paying attention to it. And I'd go shout in the mirror at myself. I know I repeat myself here, but I'd shout to myself in the mirror, you know, "You are good enough," or "I am successful," or other crap. One event I went to had us high-fiving each other and shouting, "You have a millionaire mind." And honestly, every time they made us do this, and needless to say, I left that event after the first day, and that's the last self-help event I ever went to. Every time, it's like, "You have a millionaire mind." We'd high-five each other, and my thoughts would say, "No, you fucking don't. No one in this room has a millionaire mind. Everyone here has a broke mind. That's why they're in this shit room." And it's like, you can't outmaneuver your thoughts. Not if you're quick-witted, not if you're quite sharp, not if you're, not everyone is like this. It's different for every person. But for me, and mostly my clients, we're very quick. There's no point arguing with us because we'll win. Even if we know we're wrong, we can still win. We can argue. We could, usually my clients are pretty good, quite influential, pretty good salespeople. The problem is we can make those sales to ourselves. We can sell ourselves on the idea that sniffing a line tonight would be the perfect thing to do, or why buying this car would make logical sense, so much sense, let's just do it. We can actually convince ourselves and lie to ourselves and bullshit ourselves. So it's like you have to be like this Jedi master to try and outmaneuver this thought process. But I don't watch Star Wars, but if I did, I imagine my mind is like Yoda, and I'd be like some fucking camel in the background. I was no match. I was no match for this thinking mind, this egoic mind. My ego was far too cunning and clever, which meant that you were consistently and constantly trying to outmaneuver this thought process, this thinking mind, in order to be okay, to succeed, to create what you want. And it was fucking exhausting. It really, really was. It was exhausting. When you was winning, you felt like I have, the student has become the master. But when you wasn't winning, you felt like your whole world was crumbling. It felt like you'd gone back to square one. It was like you were failing. It was like you wanted to hide away from the world and not let anyone see you. So it started to make sense to me that with every limiting belief I had, and I say it like that, in a mocking way, probably because it sounds like bullshit to me now mostly, but every limiting belief I had would give birth to another 10 anyway. So every time I overcame one, another 10 would be born. And then those 10 would give birth to another 10, and then suddenly, I can't do the maths now, but I think that's 110 maybe. Don't rewind this or do the maths on that, because then I'll look silly if I did get that wrong. And there's a whole self-help industry, billions of dollars built on the assumption that you are fucked, the assumption that you are broken, the assumption that you have the incorrect thoughts, the assumption that if only you had the right thoughts, then you would be successful. And the assumption that there's a whole load of work to do in order to overcome those thoughts, in order to be more, do more, create more. Who you needed to become in order to have what you want and live this amazing life was just on the other side of a whole shitload of work that you need to do on your thoughts, or a whole shitload of limiting beliefs that you need to somehow overcome. Yet despite going to the events, reading the books, doing the work on the thoughts, usually The ones that bother you the most don't go away. Ever. Never, ever. Which, of course, perpetuates the problem. I've got to do more. I've got to go to the next event. It must be the next guru. There definitely is something wrong with me. There must be. There's no other kind of answer to this. And I certainly felt that way too. And I hate to say it, but at the start of my career in this industry, I was probably just as much as a problem, perpetuating this, because that's what was being taught to me. And whilst it wasn't unhelpful, it wasn't completely helpful. I mean, I was progressing, I was growing, I was feeling better in some ways on some days. So somewhere in amongst this, there must be truth. But when the game changed for me, and when it changes for clients, because I don't even take them down that journey of all the shit we just mentioned. A lot of my clients are actually, they're not even into personal development. They come across me kind of by chance. Although I also recently, especially, do tend to get a lot more people resonate with my stuff that completely are in the personal development world. So this actually may be very freeing if you're willing to hear it. What changed the game for me is realizing that I didn't need to do anything with my thoughts. What a fucking radical idea. Didn't need to do anything. No thoughts were good or bad, unless I thought they were, right? Unless I made them so, unless I judged them so. Thoughts didn't mean what I thought they meant. So if I felt anxious, okay, cool. Didn't mean anything. That wasn't feedback on the world. That wasn't feedback on that wasn't feedback on whether I wanted to do something or not. It wasn't feedback on anything. It wasn't feedback on the future, because it doesn't exist. It wasn't feedback on my stories of a negative future being true. It was just an emotion in that moment. Okay, cool. Feeling anxious in this moment. Until I'm not anymore. All the feeling does is point you towards your thinking. So it's then, I'm feeling anxious. Why? Well, I'm having anxious thoughts. Okay, cool. Still doesn't mean I have to do anything. But just knowing that makes you go, all right, you just make peace with that. You just accept that. Okay, cool. Apparently this makes me feel anxious. That's cool. You still do it anyway, or don't do it. Whatever. Like, whatever you want to do. I feel anxious. Cool. Do you want to do it or do you want to not? Yeah, I do. Like, I started to see that there's a real separation between reality and thoughts and emotions. The way I've explained this before is a bit like I'm recording this now, and I've got a video track and I've got a soundtrack. They go together. So as my lips move, you hear my voice. But if I delete the soundtrack, then obviously you just see me miming, or it looks that way. Or if you listen on the podcast, you don't even get to see the video track. So there's an obvious separation between what we see and what we hear. And they look like one when they're together, but you can take them apart. I find that reality is like that, where the video is life. The video is reality. The video is what we see. That's true. That's what is. The soundtrack is like our thoughts, the bullshit, the stories, the drama, the anxiety, the fears, the worries. They look like they go together, but they don't. You could delete the thinking and the video would continue to play. The reality would continue to unfold. The things that happen would happen. The trees would still grow. Your body would still heal. Life would still happen. The sun rises and falls. Which is really fucking fascinating. Really fascinating. Because I'm not saying that thoughts aren't important. They are massively important. That's, they're in some ways, they're at the core of everything I do. So here's the nuance. I'm not saying don't focus on your thoughts. I'm not saying that thoughts aren't a good place to look if life isn't going a certain way or you're feeling certain emotions, etc. But what I'm pointing to is thoughts aren't something that need to be changed. They're not something that need to be hacked. They're not something that need to be suppressed. They're not something that need to be ignored. They're not something that need to be replaced. You don't have to shout positive affirmations over the top of negative thoughts. That just makes things noisier. That just makes things busier. That's like when your child is screaming and you turn the volume up on the TV. Yeah, you may not be able to hear the crying just as much, but it's fucking irritating, isn't it? There's no peacefulness, stillness, or happiness within that chaos. So thoughts aren't something that you have to pay so much attention to. They're bullshit. They're not true. All thought is a lie. And it flows past, like shapes in the cloud. We have something like 25,000 or 30,000 thoughts a day. We can't see each one of those individually. They can't all be rich with information that's useful. They can't all be truthful. I know they're not, because as I sit here now, I can have random thoughts like, I don't know, wouldn't it be great to be Baby Groot? It's a geezer that's, if you've watched Guardians of the Galaxy, the kids bought me, is it Baby Groot? He's the little tree thing. How cool would it be to be him? What a random thought that is. I'm not going to go and do some work on that thought. I'm not going to try and reverse that. Why did I think that? What does it mean? Is it good or bad? What if it isn't true that it'd be good to be Baby Groot? And what if it is? You know, it's like, fuck's sake, it's just a thought. It's just a thought. Which sounds simple, but I know it isn't all the time. So, and I can say this because you can tell that I've been in amongst all of this for a long time and struggled and suffered. So I can poke holes and joke about this because I've been there. So I joke and I poke holes from a place of love and understanding, but also from a place of, you know, let's cut the bullshit here. Let's get to the truth of this conversation, because when you do, it's a beautiful thing. It's transformational. It's life-changing, which a lot of things say they're life-changing and aren't. When you truly grasp this, it is, because you stop taking your thoughts so seriously. You see that they aren't truth. They're not feedback on your life or your life situation or your life circumstances. They're just thoughts. Sometimes they're good, sometimes they're not. Sometimes they're happy, sometimes they're sad. Sometimes they create anxiety, sometimes they create excitement. Sometimes they create depression, sometimes they create joy. They're just thoughts. And the more you allow them to float past like clouds in the sky, the more you recognize them as thoughts, the less it seems necessary to do anything with them. Why would you work on thoughts? Why would you care about limiting beliefs? Why would you need to do anything with that? I have a limiting belief. That limiting belief is everything I say is bullshit. Everyone I say is bullshit. No one listens to this podcast. No one watches this on YouTube. No one reads my emails. No one gives a fuck what I've got to say. Yet here I am with a business built on the fact that I talk and listen and ask questions. And apparently I do well. I say apparently because it depends on how you measure that, but I'm told. And apparently my bank balance says so, and apparently my clients say so. So maybe that's true. My thoughts tell me that's not true. My thoughts tell me that this is bullshit, I'm bullshit, all of it's bollocks, you're talking shit, turn the camera off because it's crap. Now, I could spend a lifetime working on those thoughts. And trust me, I used to. Because I used to think those thoughts were true. They used to stop me doing what I most wanted to do. They would stop me flowing like this on mic or camera. They would have me overthinking, second guessing, doubting myself, feeling like an imposter, not truly showing up to the world in the way that I most wanted to. They'd have me moderating what I say, changing what I say, trying to be all things to all people and ending up being nothing for no one. And no amount of work would overcome these thoughts, all the while I thought they were true and they were real. Now I just know that, they're just thoughts. So they seem quieter now. They seem quieter. They seem less powerful. And I just don't really tend to listen. The thoughts go, "You're talking bollocks, James." And I go, "Okay, cool. All right. That's good." And I do it anyway. Because it's fun. Because I enjoy it. And because deep down there's a part of me that can't stop. And won't stop. So I just keep doing it anyway. And then you can look for data. Well, if I was talking shit, James, then Why do I have clients? Or why do clients pay me? Or why do they stick around for years? Or why does your bank balance say this? Or why do you have this many email subscribers? But even then, you're looking for data to argue against thoughts that weren't fucking real in the first place. They just weren't true to begin with. Unless they are. Maybe they are true. Depends who you ask. Ask me, I'll tell you this is bollocks. Ask a client, they'll say, oh, it's fucking brilliant, it's changed my life. Ask someone that doesn't like me and they'll say, yeah, it's a load of shit. So considering there's no absolute truth in our thinking, considering there's very little absolute truth in life, it just doesn't seem like a winnable game here to manipulate and hack your thinking. And if you've tried it, you will know. Think of a day that you felt shit. I'm willing to bet that there wasn't much you could do to change that. No amount of thinking, no amount of anything, no amount of meditation or deep breathing or reading or even listening to me sometimes would help, unless it doesn't, sometimes wouldn't. And that's the truth. It's just trying to overcome limiting beliefs is a pointless and a pointless strategy and unnecessary. It's a pointless and unnecessary strategy. Now I'm over-egging the pudding. I'm also going to drink some coffee for a second, which is always a risk when I'm talking because I talk fast anyway, sometimes, except for when I don't. But when I have coffee, that usually hits the fast forward button. So I'll do my best to slow this down and not get carried away. But I am over-egging the pudding, and it's because for some reason there seems to be a degree of repetition to this. I say the same stuff week in, week out, over and over again, month in, month out, year in, year out. The books are saying the same thing. The Buddha, the Eckhart Tolle, who else are there? There's, the Tao Te Ching, is it? The Bible says similar stuff in different words. Stoicism. If you look at that, Marcus Aurelius, I think that was written like thousands of years ago, 2,000 years ago or 500 years ago. Don't quote me on that. Everyone's saying the same thing, just in different words. Because some reason it seems to take different words to really land for us. Or we have to hear it 15 times before we go, oh. So you've heard me say all this before. I've heard myself say it all before. And even every time I say it, I hear something new. Every time I hear it, I hear something new. I don't know why that is. I'm not sure. Just seems to be part of the process, seems to be part of the learning process where we hear what we hear. Sometimes I have clients that will listen back. I have people in the mastermind that will listen back to group calls from weeks ago that they were on, and yet they hear it differently the second or the third time. There's different words. They'll quote me. You said this, and I'm like, did I? I don't remember. They're like, yeah, I didn't hear that the first time. So I don't know why that is, why there's a level of repetition to this. But I guess what I'm saying is stay in the conversation, wherever that is. If it's here, then cool. If it's somewhere else, awesome. Stay in the conversation. Keep coming to this with a clear mind. Looking for new thought, fresh thought, not stagnant thinking. Not stagnant, repetitive thinking that you thought a million times before. Look for new. Look for fresh. Look for new and fresh. Can't find better words than that. New and fresh thoughts that seem like, oh, okay, that's interesting. But above all else, just understand that just because you think something doesn't make it true. Just because you think something, it doesn't necessarily have any impact on your life, or it doesn't have to, unless you allow it to. If you stop giving your thoughts so much weight, so much power, before long you'll notice that, when you have like music on or a TV on in the background, you don't really hear it. You forget it's on after a while. And occasionally it drifts in and out. You might find yourself singing, or you might find yourself singing a song and you think, why am I singing that? And you realize, oh, it's because it's on the TV or it's on the radio, or it was. That's what thoughts can become. They're just this noise in the background of our life. that we tune in and out of. And sometimes the music's happy and sometimes it's not. Sometimes it's drum and bass and other times it's classical. It's different. And it can just fade in and out. We don't need to listen to it with such intensity and make it mean something. We don't have to go, wow, there's a drum and bass song on right now, that must mean this. No, it doesn't. It's just the nature of thought. Yeah, I'm not going to keep talking on that because I could probably take that deeper, but I'm not going to for now. You may notice that your mood influences the music. So if you wake up and you're tired or you're feeling low, I kind of use this as like a traffic light system sometimes, but don't attach to this. It's just a pointer, not a technique. Red means that you're more likely to have negative thoughts, negative music. Orange means it could go either way. Green means it's generally more positive. Okay, cool. Even that's a noticing, not a beat yourself up, get pissed off, or reject what's happening. It's not a resistance to what is. It's okay. So I know after tonight, I play football late tonight. It means I don't have a great night's sleep. Usually I'm normally tired tomorrow. I know that most of my thoughts tomorrow will be bullshit. Unless they're not, but they probably are, because they usually are. It just means I don't really do too much thinking tomorrow. There's no point me thinking much tomorrow because I know it won't have a particularly good spin on it, and that's cool. It's just nice to know. Same way if I'm ill, or if I'm hungover for the day afterwards, it's like I basically want to burn the whole world down because everything feels miserable and depressing. That used to feel like a problem until I realised, okay, my thought content on a hangover is just not that useful. Cool. Just won't think too much then. Or I'll just notice every time my thoughts wander off. I just won't buy into the thinking so much. I used to, on a hangover, start evaluating my life, coming up with the conclusion it's all shit and it all needed to change. And I'd get so caught in that rabbit hole that I really did believe my thinking, only to wake up the next day and go, fucking hell, well, that was a waste of time. Some people get anxiety on, what do they call that? Like after drinking, they feel anxious. And they really buy into their thinking of what did I do last night? What didn't I do? What did I say? What didn't I say? And they just buy into that thinking rather than notice, okay, here's the anxious thinking that likes to turn up on a hangover. Again, I've just repeated myself. You may have noticed the conclusion to this conversation is that my coffee is cold. That's the conclusion to this conversation. Which is only a problem if I think it is. The conclusion to this conversation is that, see, now there's a car alarm going off. That's how easily my attention is distracted. And the thoughts go, for fuck's sake, car alarm's going off. Now that can be picked up on the microphone. This office is fucking shit. I need to get a new office somewhere away from town. Now, if I believed those thoughts, I'd be getting up and moving office right now and probably costing myself a fortune in the process. But that's how quickly it happens. Do you see how I notice? You're in real time with me. I notice. My coffee's going off, for fuck's sake. That's a waste of money. And then I'm back present again. Car alarm's going off. For fuck's sake. Need to move office. Like, that's how quickly our thoughts just take us away from the present moment. And if you believe them, they will have you. If you're like me, if you believe your thoughts, no wonder I thought I was bipolar. Fucking hell. It was like an untethered horse and me being dragged along like behind it. I think they used to do this. I don't know what year. It was a long time ago. They used to drag people through the streets behind a horse by their foot. So I'd be dangling, getting dragged along the floor with the rope around my feet attached to this fucking wild horse. I mean, I'd like to think as humans we've evolved, actually. We don't seem to do stuff like that anymore, so that's positive. But that's what my thoughts would feel like. I'm just being dragged all over the place by this wild horse. Except it wasn't a horse. It was kind of like a flying horse on steroids with 10 ton of speed in its system. So I was all over the place. Like, the thoughts haven't changed in their velocity, their speed. But as you tune out of them, they become background noise. They stop being so loud. They stop being so meaningful. They stop being so important. They stop being truth. So many people think that their thoughts are true, and they will argue about it. Go on Facebook. Everyone is arguing that their point is correct and the only way, and you kind of want to shake them. There's no openness in this discussion. There's no truth in this. You think that your thoughts are 100% correct so fucking much that you're unwilling to see anything beyond what you think. It's mind-blowing if you see that. And if you are that, then I really would love if this wakes you up from that. We all do it from time to time, but just be aware of that. Everyone is walking around in a thought-created world thinking that their thought-created world is truth. Wondering why there's so much war, anger, hate, racism, sexism, homophobia, whatever else, snowflakes, and all sorts of other bullshit. But anyway, that is a conversation for another day. So anyway, I kind of feel like I've rambled, but the ramblings and the meandering experience seems to bring magic to it. Again, I just trust that these days. I don't overthink that. Hopefully there was something in that for you. Hopefully there was some insight in that for you. Hopefully there was some fresh thoughts in that for you. So if you've come here specifically to learn how to overcome limiting beliefs, then the good news is, well, the bad news is you can't. The good news is you don't have to. And I'll let you sit with that one. Anyway, appreciate you being here. If you are watching on YouTube, then subscribe or comment or whatever. I love reading comments, regardless of what they say. If you're on the podcast, then, share it, leave a review, same thing. I just love seeing more people wake up to this, It's a co-creation. I don't believe this is about me anymore. I don't think that I'm so magical and that's what's happening. It's without you listening, there isn't really a conversation. So the more people that listen, the more the conversation expands and grows. And that's just such a cool thing. But anyway, I'm going to shut up, get back to my cold coffee and continue with my life. I hope you have a good one. I'll speak to you soon.